Hi, I'm Amber Nali Kefirah, and this is honestly my first time reading tarot over video. I've never recorded myself before, so hopefully you can bear with the awkwardness, but I'm really glad to be doing this. This is going to be a new moon tarot reading, and right now it's a pandemic. It's social distancing, we're isolated, everything's online. This is a situation we've never dealt with before. There's all kinds of emotions that we're going through. And I did this reading to talk about some ways that we can interact with this situation. What are good ways to keep ourselves in the best possible health, emotionally, spiritually, and hopefully physically too. And I use, let's see, I have a combination of decks. So I did this reading with both my decks. This is the Mother Peace Tarot, which is a feminist deck from the 70s, and I really like it. Then I used the Numinous Tarot, which is a gorgeous, very, very colorful tarot deck. So beautiful. And this one has all gender non-conforming characters. So no kings, no queens, it's all non-binary. And that is fantastic. Love this deck so much. So I'm going to get started. And I just want to say this is going to be a faster reading than I normally do. I usually get a lot more in depth, but my readings are informed by the somatic therapies that I do and that I study. And that's kind of my main influence. Okay. So, this type of reading that I do is mind, body, spirit, heart, and root. And then we have a crossing card. So like what is aiding you or obstructing you, and then an outcome. So that's what these cards are going to be. Okay, I'm going to go now. So this is mind. So this is what we can keep in mind, what kind of mindset we can cultivate during this time. And creators in this deck is kind of like a knight. So the knight typically is really dynamic, kind of like on a quest, like charging forwards. But this being the earth suit, this is kind of like the slowest knight. So this is not a charging forward knight. So this is kind of more of a place-based knight. And that makes a lot of sense for where we're at right now, sheltering in place. And because this is the earth suit, I see this person as connecting a lot with the land and in a really deep way, and also kind of cultivating and learning earth skills. So like gardening, ancestral skills, tracking, nature awareness, wildlands tending, and then also kind of learning skills that come from the land. So that could be like herbalism, gardening, kind of, going out and harvesting basketry materials, also learning about where they grow and how to tend them for longevity and for the health of the actual plant. And then those relationships that you develop beyond just making something, like beyond just an outcome of something that you produce from the land, there's also a relationship. And then that relationship is extremely beneficial to our spirits and hopefully to the other parties in the relationship, the plants or the land or whatever. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. That's what I'm going to do for mind, is really it's connecting with the land. Body, the sun. So that's an interesting card to get right now because it's spring and it's Aries season, and it's kind of, normally we would be kind of coming out of our shells and like welcoming in more light and exuberance and joy and kind of like really fiery dynamic emotions. But there's a pandemic and we have to isolate. And so what does that mean? that means that we're still going to have those like spring energies come up, and we need to channel them in other ways besides externally, well, externally, socially being with each other, you know? And so it's considering what that means, because the sun is really a lot about health, and it's really a lot about joy. And so it's just focusing on where there is pleasure, where there is joy, where there is health. Um, and, you know, kind of like focusing on the positive. That's not usually where I like to go with this, but I feel like this, what this card is really saying is if we shift our awareness to what is joyful, what is pleasurable, then that's going to be really beneficial right now, and especially having to do with the body. So like doing embodiment practices and you know, dancing, singing, you know, just it is really quiet out there, but we don't have to be quiet. We can go in our rooms and sing and dance, you know? We can sing and dance on Zoom meetings with each other. We can still sing and dance and be exuberant. And so that's to remember that we don't have to lose our exuberance and our joy because we're isolating and everything seems super quiet and subdued. So now we have spirit. And this one is about boundaries, which is so super relevant right now because we have our boundaries of ourselves, and this thing, this virus, can cross over those boundaries and harm other people. And so boundaries are something that we all are really hyper focused on right now. But this boundaries card is not about hard boundaries. So if you can see, this card is some books in a cabinet, and the cabinet is closed. There's a lock on the door. And these are really beautiful, very valuable, intricate, maybe fragile books. And the person who put them in this cabinet really, really, really values them and really wants them to be okay. And so they have this cabinet because the cabinet keeps them safe. But if they always stay in the cabinet, because they have valuable information in them, and if they always stay in the cabinet, then nobody can see that. So it's about having a balance of boundaries, and yes, isolating for safety, and also finding ways to reach out and share our spirits, reach out and share our gifts. If that means, you know, having to do it online, if that means doing writing that you're going to share now or later, but not taking that boundary as having to be hard and meaning that nothing gets let out, because we still have plenty to share and it's important. So now we have the heart. So this would be the Knight of Wands. And typically people would interpret a reverse Knight of Wands as like a pretty, you know, I don't know, like a difficult personality. And I'm not interpreting it that way because that's not what I'm feeling. So this is about that super dynamic energy that we can have in the spring and an Aries season. And the heart is actually like, that is like a really fiery organ, and where like passion, like a lot of passion and energy comes from. And then also in elemental systems, they say that like if you're too excited, like too exuberant, that actually stresses your heart. And so it's about having a balance. And again, like the sun card, there's lots of exuberance can be rising up, and we can, even though we're alone, we can still express it. So I feel like, similar to the sun card, this is talking about like bringing that passion internally, and bringing it to our dreams, to our personal practices, to our personal rituals, to our magic, like maybe looking into lucid dreaming. That's been a theme for me lately, because in lucid dreaming, you're like in your dream world. That's an internal state, but you're waking up, like you're conscious, you're dynamic in your dream world. So this card to me is about ways to be really dynamic, to like have that fiery energy and be able to use it for internal things, for creativity, for ritual, for magic, for self-love, and dreaming, and just like increasing self-knowledge. And it's a night too, so the night's all like so like on this quest of self-knowledge, and this is a great time to do that. But don't feel that you have to be subdued just because you're internal again. Okay, so the root is the 7 of tomes. So tomes are the earth element again, and this person is signing these books. I believe they're signing their books. Yeah, they're signing their books, and books that they wrote. And the title of the book is What We Sow. As you sow, so shall you reap, like that saying, right? So to me, what this is talking about is that this can be a really fertile time for creativity and for intention setting ritual and stuff like that. And that this is a time of limitation, so the things that we put, the seeds that we plant right now, seeds of intentions or seeds of creativity, like seeds of labor into our creative endeavors, are things that are going to blossom forth later. So with having a mindset of what we're doing right now, is really going to blossom and thrive later on in this in the harvest season. So not exactly right now. So having that mindset of longevity and knowing that what we do now is really important, even if it just seems like it's tiny, because it's a seed. It has the potential to grow into so much more in a later time. Don't rush it. So now we come to, this is the crossing card. Crossing card, 3 of candles. So this card is about your endeavors coming to fruition. So kind of similar to the card that I just read. This person is going out to the ocean every day to see if usually it's ships that they sent out on missions if the ships are coming back. But this time there are these beacons, so they're going out to see if their beacons have been lit. And I want to say about this card, because this is the crossing card, and so it can be beneficial, or it can also be hindering. But I think this is also about goals and not being too goal oriented or expecting too much to happen right now, even though there is a lot of creative energy coming up because of spring. And still realizing that that what you're putting forth is gonna return. It is gonna bring beneficial things. It just might not be super soon. But don't think that what you're doing is futile. Like both this and this have the message that what we're doing right now is super important, and it's going to come into so much fruition later on. And for the outcome, we have yet another candles, wands, so more fire. And this is just about our personal life force energy. So it's the ace. So it's kind of the like most basic of that element. And that can be shaped and formed into all different ways later. But this is just about feeling that life force and cultivating it. So we, again, like this theme throughout this whole reading is, just because we're isolated, just because things are subdued or limited or restricted right now, doesn't mean that we have to squash our fire. It doesn't mean that we have to like push down our energy. Like we have this energy and we can cultivate it and go internally to cultivate it. And I see like kind of doing like embodiment practices and energy cultivation practices. So whatever that looks like for you, and not things that make you feel like all out of control, like cathartic or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like gently cultivating and tending to your personal energy, your fire, your passion, and knowing that it's going to bring great things that we might not see return on immediately. I picked a couple more cards. Let's see. I'm going to pick one more. Okay, cool. So we have, this is from the mother piece now. So we have this, it's called Priestess of Discs, and discs is the earth element. And this card is all about embodiment. This is like the embodiment card. So it's, this person is outside stretching in the garden. This is just so perfect for this time. And there's this kind of like an imagination bubble. I know it's hard to see. They are imagining and dreaming about the future. They have their child with them, and the trees, the birds, you know. So they're actually intentionally doing embodiment practices. So they're doing something, they're doing like yoga or something like that. They're doing something something with structure, and so it's something with intention. And so it's just doing these kind of like this, what I was just talking about, where it's good to do energy cultivating practices. Like that's exactly what this person is doing in this card. Makes so much sense. And last we have Ace of Cups. And this card has a very simple explanation. It's kind of like that thing like, oh, you know, if your cup is empty, you don't have enough to give to others. Like if your cup is full, then it's overflows, and then there's enough to share. And so this person, the cup is kind of like, that's like their self-resourceness, their self-love. This is like the self-love card. And the swans are a swan couple. So it's like they're taking care of their relationship with themselves first. They're like diving into their own self-love pool. And then what's flowing out, because it's so full, can be extended to their relationships. And so this is a good time to fill your self-love cup. Very awesome. Yeah, okay, so I'm done, and this was really fun. Thank you. I do readings, and I don't know, maybe, okay, I'm just gonna say, because I didn't prepare for this, I'm just gonna say how to contact me. My name is Amber Nolly Kefirah with a K, Kefirah, and you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, and send me a message if you want to get a reading. And so I do these somatic, body-based tarot readings, and I have sliding scale rates. Also, and because I'm a body worker, I am not working at all right now, and so I could really, really, really use some tarot reading. So, or I mean, I could use to give you some tarot reading. Because I have like basically no income right now. So that would be wonderful. Feel free to contact me for questions, or if you want to do somatic sessions. And yay, this was so super fun. And I'll see all of you in person someday. Bye.